like, honestly, the way I feel about all this masculinity, like, that's not a Nigerian thing for real. That's what we learned here. Back home, whoever can lift the heaviest thing, lift it. It just happens to be men. It happens to be men. It happens to be men.
All right, so our next question is, do we believe that Nigerian men today are more feminine than previous generations and Nigerian women are more masculine than previous generations? And following up on that, I wanted to also pose, as you answer the question, or excuse me, I want to also ask that as you answer your question, that you also include what your definition of being more feminine or femininity, if I said that word right, and masculinity is, so that we can understand your full perspective.
Okay. I think the word femininity and masculinity is such a fickle term. It's about survival in society, right? I think what was considered masculine then was necessary, what was considered feminine was necessary versus now. You know what I'm saying? One person had to go out to do everything and all that kind of stuff. The woman had to be at home, had to be very nurturing. But now you get to today's society, right? And women can go to work and men can stay at home. So they have to be a little bit more feminine. Women have to be a little bit more masculine. Like it just depends. I mean, it really just goes back to gender roles. And gender roles is defined by society. So masculinity and femininity has to be defined by society or that community that they're in.
I think that's a great point. And I think to add just to that as well, I think that this whole masculinity and femininity thing is really spoiling a lot of relationships today and like people's confidence in who they are. Because a man may feel because they are more open to being vulnerable or because they may like do something a certain way that, okay, this is now challenging my masculinity. And I think men, especially our African men and black men in society, like they already have a lot going against them as they're growing from boys to men. And so now having to check, like it's like there's already so much pressure. Now they have to make sure they don't accidentally overcut others. Like, like little things that really don't matter. And I feel like in a marriage and relationship, to your point, like society does, morph what the gender roles are. But I think in a relationship or when you're looking to date or whatever, you as an individual should decide, like for yourself, what type of woman you want, and not necessarily on, I want to be more feminine, what is this? Because there's some qualities that you may like in a woman, maybe her being able to work and be hardworking, that some men may see as masculine, but you don't think it's masculine. She's just a hardworking woman. So I feel like we should do ourselves a service and stop letting society decide for us what is masculinity versus femininity, and like let it be a man is a man for the fundamental things that a man is in a relationship and a woman as well. That's my opinion. To say something.
Okay. This is the thing, right? This is the thing. So, I believe we're in a day and age where everyone was like, I get to define what it is I want to do, what it is I want to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm going down south, I can define that as north because that's what I choose for it to be. And we're like, bro, no matter how much down south you go, you would never be north. Like, let's just facts, right?
Yeah.
Like, there has to be boundaries and rules. Because people think freedom is the ability to do anything. No, freedom is the ability to have a certain boundary and get something accomplished, right? So, going down to femininity, and I know this will rustle some feathers.
Yeah, rustle.
I believe that in today's society, females have been sold a lie. No, as women.
Females is an appropriate term.
We say men
Oh
have
yeah, well, we still be so
we
divided.
men, and this
Females
is
got females got males.
women have been sold a lie, and they've bought a lie in the sense of society has fed them the thing that they can be more masculine. By being more masculine, they're gonna get more respect from males, right? By being more masculine in terms of in the workplace, in terms of the independent black woman, in terms of the harshness, there's a beauty and there's a strength to femininity that I feel like is not being supported in a way that they're strengthening that. But a lot of it is like, oh, if a woman is more masculine, if she, you know what I'm saying, if she goes into the room and she asserts her attention, all that kind of stuff, then you get respect. And like, no, there's a certain way a woman can get respect in the area that a man will never be able to get respect.
Why does going into a room and asserting attention, like,
It's actually, you've kind of jumped into a different conversation because, well, not a different conversation, but a different dimension of this conversation. So what I was going to say earlier is, if we're looking at masculinity and femininity from within the spectrum of a relationship between a man and a woman, is you're going to look at it differently
From society.
from
The workplace.
from the workplace. Right? So you talking about why does society has fed women, and I always hate this type of generalization, but it is what it is. You're saying that society fed women this idea that they need to assert themselves in a more masculine way in a work environment. And the irony of what you're saying is that society comprising of men have made women feel that that's the only way they can get heard. Because for the longest time, women were not even given space in the work environment to be in leadership. And when they were given space to be in leadership, when they assert themselves, right, they're told that they're being aggressive, or they're not even, respected because they are females. And so when the woman does the same thing that the man does in the work environment, she's considered aggressive. She's considered, arrogant, masculine, or whatever. But if that's the only way the woman can get to be heard and assert a position of authority, then why is that wrong?
So
basically, what you're saying is women should go back to the time when they were seen and not heard. That's what you're saying.
No. You ain't about to get me canceled. Not in this place today.
Do you have a problem with a woman, I guess, asserting her dominance in like the work environment, and also taking that dominance home, like outside of that,
I don't necessarily say, I won't say that I have a problem with it. I say that once a woman becomes dominant, right? A man, in terms of relationship, most men, I'll generalize, this is generalization, are not attracted to that dominance.
Why does everything land to what Why must everything always come back to what
Shabi, you put that in the
Thank you, Logan. Thank you.
Hold on. Okay, who cares about what a man thinks?
No, that's not what she's saying.
That's not what I mean. But it's like you guys are so, it's almost like narcissism when you think about it. Like everything always has to come back around.
Everything always has to come back to what makes the man feel like a man.
No. At the end of the day, right? If a man was not masculine, right? I'm not attracted to him. He doesn't feel like I don't feel like
that's where the generalization is coming from. I do think, can I say something real quick? I do think that when it comes to feminine and masculine, femininity and masculinity, the way I look at it is, I think that every individual should have some dose of both. So if you're a man, right, and you're predominantly only functioning in your masculine energy, in quotes, and I use the air quotes here for a reason, because a lot of, anyway, let me not go there. If you're a man and you're only operating in your masculine energy, right, that's what results in what we typically will call toxic masculinity. Yeah. And if you're a woman and you're only operating in quotes in that feminine energy based on what men think is feminine, then you're operating in a place where you're just supposed to be submissive.
So there's no toxic femininity?
That's toxic.
I have never heard toxic femininity.
That's toxic. What if you ask your man?
So in my opinion, people have a lot
more space to be either these days. So
Yeah.
men have more room to be feminine, women have more room
To express their
masculine.
feminine.
Exactly. Like you said, there's both and both, but
Why does it have to be feminine? What is feminine?
it's just what has been branded over the years, you know.
So, for
Like,
me,
oh,
what-
okay, for me, I don't care about cars. I don't want to do yard work. Cool, that's not masculine, right? I don't care.
Can you barbecue though? I'm
No,
just kidding about that.
but I mean,
Okay, she was.
But
other
would you
people
do
can barbecue.
it?
Barbecue together.
Okay, what if you would have expected that you would do it?
maybe
Or
not.
would you-
Probably not.
would you feel okay?
Why would she expect that of me?
Wait, would you okay with being responsible for it even if you don't have to?
Yeah, I could take care of it. Somebody else can barbecue.
Exactly.
I can get
Another
it
question
done,
to
you
that.
know?
Another nigga on your grill.
I know mechanics. So,
Wouldn't you rather be with a woman that doesn't require you to be that?
absolutely. So I would only
Problem
be.
solved.
That was my point, right? There are women.
Balances you. If
Yes.
you're a man who functions more in his feminine energy, find a woman that functions
So-
more in his feminine energy. If it balances you. Well, that's why I said
No,
that
that's
as a generalization. When you say women want men who are masculine, not every woman wants that alpha man,
So-
you know,
I
aggressive or masculine. Not every woman wants
But
that.
it-
Some women want to
They
do
want
that, and there are men who
Who
want a
want
woman
to
who is
do
that
that.
way. If they're together and they are fine with it, the problem is not them. The problem is society telling them that there's something wrong.
Yeah.
with it.
So-
They're like,
But hold on.
That's
But
my
at-
opinion.
But at the end of the day,
Thank you.
at the end of the day, I'll agree to the fact that, you know, in a relationship, right, there is it's a working out between them on how the feminine, masculine, as you stated, I'll agree to that, right? But would you disagree that there should be a quote unquote masculine way and generally a feminine way, or whatever it is?
I don't know.
But to me, because it,
Masculine.
Like,
Energy,
no,
masculine.
Okay, no, it just-
Basically, whatever comes naturally to you.
but the thing is this, is like, I understand what you're trying to say, but at the end of the day, I truly believe that there needs to be ways of doing things, and there needs to be allowance for people breaking away from the norm. But to say that there is no norm is, to me, is like, what do you go back to? What do you teach your son?
What is norm? Norm is constant change.
No, what?
Societies are constantly
But it's
So
evolving,
if
constantly
has a
changing.
point,
So-
has a point. There should be some type of borderline fundamental.
Why should there be?
What do you want to teach your son?
Why should
So
there be?
here's how I see it is there are things that need to get done. Somebody has to do them.
Thank you.
In whatever
Thank
interaction is
you.
going on.
Thank
So
you.
if your son doesn't like to grill or whatever, like there are ways to get that done.
No
that you
one,
can teach
no
them.
one is saying you need to pressure them in that way, but it's like,
Some people.
there has to be a path. You know, if you're a parent and you have a son and you, like, what do you do? Okay, hey, let's play with
Some
big.
people want to be gender fluid
That-
parents. Who here wants to raise their children to be gender fluid?
Alright, so
So to anybody's point, he has a point. He has a point.
But
I'm just trying to say, like, what he's asking is, where does the line?
You know,
Where is
I
that
answer that
guidance?
question, but let's move.
So-
Where's the line?
But there was never like honestly the way I feel about all this masculine like that's not a Nigerian thing for that's what we learned here. Back home, whoever can lift the heaviest thing lifted. It just happens to be men. It happens to be men. It happens to be men. But no, because I know whoever can cook, yeah, but no.
Even if I
But you grew up here. You grew up here. Yeah.
What you just said now is a big
Women-
fact.
That's the case.
Women-
It so happened that most men are able to live that
See,
life.
now
Yeah,
the
that's just
problem-
tradition.
the problem-
But nobody in Nigeria was ever just like, oh, this is a masculine thing for you to do. This
Dude,
Nah,
wait, can I say something? Can I say something?
I know niggas that can cook who are 70, 80 years old. That was considered feminine, right? But a lot of niggas can cook that are older, twice my age.
Can I say
In
something?
America?
No, in Nigeria.
Do they cook if they have a wife?
They don't have to, but they can. How do they know how to cook? How do they know how to cook though?
say it.
How do they know how to cook? If they have the wife and the mother and everybody.
Nigeria is a predominantly
down.
sexist society.
No, that's just how things are. But nobody's thinking, oh, this is masculine, feminine. It's just how things are.
It may
Yeah.
not- see, I
There's
don't know-
more men, not most Nigerian men, and even in this
I
country,
don't
most
know
Nigerian men can cook.
about, I
Can you
don't
cook?
know about before
Can you cook?
colonialism, but
I can
do
cook.
know that since
All those niggas here can cook.
Okay.
That's not no gender
As the
role.
mother-
We
as
just
the
know
Yes, as a moderator, everyone should fume because at this point, nobody's even hearing one another.
Okay.
So how are we gonna learn each other's perspective if we can't hear each other's perspective?
You're shocked. Because the general thing is
What
bogus.
has just been said.
Men know how to clean. Men know how to wash. Moderate. But generals is bullshit. Until we came to this country, that general shit wasn't even a thing.
I want to say something.
That's not true.
You have to think
I want to
yourself.
say
Why
something.
not?
Go ahead.
But it's a general.
Like,
It is. In this country. That's
let me just say one thing, then we'll go back to your arguments. Okay. So, I want to clarify everybody's points here so we can have a standing ground to move forward from.
Okay.
So, I understand what you're saying, Emeka. You can see women, like when it comes to like farming, right? Yes, they talk about hunter-gatherer society and all these kind of things, and people have to do things to survive. But yes, in Nigeria specifically, you can see men who went to the farm, but you can also see women who went to the farm. And I do believe sometimes even what they farmed and cultivated was different based off of their genders. I see your point. There were women who hustled. I mean, we talk about even women in the markets alone, like, and that whole society in its own. They have their own economy almost, like, you understand? So there are women who did things because they needed to do things, but it wasn't considered being feminine or being masculine. There are men who can cook because it's a survival skill. On the same end, in the same Nigeria, in the same communities, if we're even just talking about tribes, there are some men who do not know how to unstove, and I'm not even exaggerating.
So women too.
Okay, but generally, there are some women, you're right, but that's what you see more here. Usually back home, whether you like to cook or not, you must learn something. Because a lot of Nigerian women, we were raised to be wives. Whether you want to be married or not, from young, it was, whatever you decide to do with your life is your business. But nobody's going to say,
but that's different than when we're talking about masculinity and femininity. Like, those are different things.
Let me finish. Let me finish, please. So we're raised to be wives. So generally, there is a way that we were raised, that we were told is feminine. In my own household, and I'll use it as one example. Again, it may be different in your households. Back to what we said about perspectives, right? My household, my mom forced me in the kitchen. You better know how to cook. You're not gonna go to your husband's house and disgrace me. All this kind of thing, right? My brother, I'm like, what about Ose? What about Ose? Ose is a man. He doesn't need to know how to cook. And that was not only in my household.
Sure.
There's no way that somebody will now say that that's not Nigerian. Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Because at the same token, my mother said, Emeka, you need to learn how to cook
Your mother
because you
said
cannot
that in
depend.
America.
She's a Nigerian woman. I'm a Nigerian household. Can I finish? My mom said, you need to learn how to cook because you cannot depend on a woman to be cooking for you.
Absolutely. But the thing
Now, where does the masculinity and femininity fit into that?
Emeka, I'm trying to.
Okay, so what are we talking about?
You know that, right?
Okay. Let me just make this last one because I've actually been trying to talk a while and nobody's been letting me.
Okay.
I've been listening.
So to that point, my father, on the other hand, told my mother, "Why should my son not know how to survive?" So I'm saying that to say there is a general cultural way that people looked at femininity and masculinity. And there are some areas that were kind of blurred, but it wasn't really a blur. It was just, it is what it is.
What was that word?
We did.
Culture.
It is what it is.
But we ultimately, everybody did what they needed to do to survive, kind of to Victor's point.
That's all I'm saying.
Now, even to something that you guys said earlier about the independent woman, black women, and all these stereotypes and stuff like that, and educate this conversation that we've had previously in the past, so I'll bring up some of the same points. A lot of women, even when it comes to being that young, independent black woman, blah, 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 and even going back to what you define as what's masculine and what's feminine, etc., right? Like, that, I hate that thing, that strong, independent black woman thing. I hate when people assume that I'm that or aligned to that just because I have a career in my own and I live for myself. And I speak up for myself. They just assume, oh, you're a strong black woman. Somebody who said, I know you're the kind of person that wants to wear your pants in a relationship. God forbid. Why would you say that? because that's not what I was raised to be. And granted, even being and having to even tap more into my feminine energy, I had to learn that as an adult because I realized men were starting to group me in places I didn't belong.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of them had to do that because just look at how messed up things have been for our race and even our people coming and migrating to this country. A lot of women had to migrate here without their husbands. A lot of black people in America are living here without their husbands in the home because a lot of them are incarcerated, and that goes back to politics and all other stuff that may or may not have even been their fault.
Yeah.
So women had to survive. And they had to, what I is masculine, feminine, blah, blah, blah. They have to be everything
Yeah.
to survive.
Yeah.
And us in the next generation, us, if I watch my mom hustle and be a man and a woman, especially when my dad was no longer in the picture, that is what I learned.
Yeah.
So that's what I grew into being. So I had to now so two men started talking to me weird like that. But I had to be like, whoa, hold on, wait a minute. This is not even who I want to be. But it's who I had to be. And yes, they say it in the music, but I think they say it in the music to make people not feel bad when they don't get a choice about who they have to be. But in a marriage, I don't want to wear any freaking pants or any nothing. I don't want to be any head. Because outside of just being a woman and liking my femininity and not, I don't mind being dependent on somebody. Not saying that I can't be independent. I've already proved my independence. For all the stuff I've been able to accomplish at my young age. I don't need to prove that to anybody anymore. And if I need to be independent again, I'm gonna wrap this up. I know you guys have things to say. If I need to be independent again after the marriage for whatever reason, I can and will be.
Thank you.
So I'm not ashamed of the ability to be independent. Right. I'm not ashamed of the ability, but it's not my preference. So when I'm in a relationship now, I hope that I'm in a relationship with a man who helps me to feel secure in the certain areas that he wants to be responsible for, that will allow me to take a step back and focus on taking care of myself and taking care of him in the way that he wants to be taken care of, and still doing what I want to do. However, if I enter that relationship and the man is doing kiniko, I will naturally go into I will go into that other masculine energy that he wants to call it that. I feel like men use that as an excuse for not providing sometimes. Yeah. Not all the time, but sometimes. Because if she's comfortable, why would she, you know what I'm saying? Not again, I'm generalizing.
Why used to that?
It's not a general, it's a marriage. Not everybody's just gonna leave because it's uncomfortable. You shouldn't. And so like, that's my thing. I will see myself, I will have to literally actively watch myself to keep myself from stepping into that place where I now want to work and hustle because I want to provide for me and my family. I'll have to trust my man and do what I can to work with him and not become independent in my relationship.
You know, you said something interesting where women have to come to this country independently and had to assume different roles. And you know, a lot of men have had to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
And they had to learn how to cook and clean and do all the things that they didn't do back in Nigeria.
But I'm not going against that. I think
respond to that real quick on a different scale. When a man migrates here, especially in a dynamic where you have, and I know this from experience, not personal experience, but from what I've seen, you know, when if a man who has a family, a wife and kids, is migrating here, he's not migrating here with kids. He's migrating here on his own. He has the freedom and the flexibility to do what it is.
What do you mean freedom and flexibility?
Listen,
he has to establish a base for his whole family. You know the pressure that comes with it?
The reverse is if the woman is the one coming over here and they have kids, she is expected to come with those kids.
You assume that. That's an assumption. No, that's an assumption. You assume that niggas don't come here with kids? And you assume every woman comes here with kids? That's an assumption. That's a crazy assumption. Crazy assumption. What fact is that? Show me the book. Show me the stats.
Forget books.
Every woman comes here with kids in this country? There's men that come here with kids too.
Right.
You're adding things to the woman's file when it's like, yo, I'm talking equally. Women come here on their own accord. Men come here on their own accord. Leave it there. Don't start adding, oh, they have kids. Oh, they came with handbags and all this. I'll leave it out.
Before you argue, listen to the distinction I'm making here. If there is a man who has a wife, and if you can point one such example, then I'll rest my case. If there is a man coming from Nigeria who has a wife and kids, that man is not coming here with the kids. He's leaving the kids with the wife in Nigeria. He's coming here on his own. But if there is a man and a woman with kids, and the woman is coming here, she's not leaving those kids with the man.
So you just said that I was wrong, but you just said that the same thing.
No, I didn't say you were wrong. You didn't even
example of
yes, I know plenty in DC, Maryland, Virginia that have that example. Yes, and he came here with the kids for a better life. Yes,
oh, you're not
I don't know a lot, but it's happening. But why? Okay, but why is mine unbelievable and hers is believable?
No, because what we're trying to say is
I just gave my own example and it's wrong, right? But hers is right. Why?
The thing is, you're jumping to conclusions.
I'm not jumping to conclusions.
I never said you were wrong. In fact, you didn't even let me finish talking when I was gonna say that the first point that you made about what I said is true in the reverse, where men also have to have qualities that make you be considered feminine in order to survive in this country, but you didn't even allow
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the kids part.
No, I'm saying, but I have to go back there.
No, that part is fine. I'm talking about the kids
Okay,
issue.
well,
That's all I'm talking
let me get to the kids issue. Let me get to the
about.
kids
That's what
issue.
we're talking about.
Because let me get to the kids issue. What I'm saying is that you're not letting her land before you can talk. I don't think she's not saying that it's impossible. But her argument is that it's majority when there's a married couple in Nigeria.
And that's fact.
And one person has to come
What
over.
fact? How does that affect? Like, you can't just say it's
If you're
fact.
not gonna let me land, I'm not gonna say
I'm talking to her. I'm talking to you. Like,
I think what's happening here is she's simply saying that it's not impossible, it's improbable. And that's all that's being said. It doesn't happen, is the chances that it happens, might not be as much as women. So, and I think in conclusion, we can say that, masculinity and femininity from Nigerian men or women back in the day to today, I mean, it's changed and varied because of situation, because of location, because of what a relationship is or isn't anymore. And I feel like from that, we can't give a specific detail on has it gotten more or has it gotten less? And I feel like, can we all agree on that? I feel like.
Yes, I can agree on
Yeah.
that.
No, I already said I'm believing the whole masculine feminine. That was me. Yeah, y'all got it.
And that is the norm. That the norm now is that things are changing because society is changing, and situations are changing, and things are a little different from the way it was for the previous generation. So yes, naturally, men might function a little more in their feminine energy than they had to in the past because things have changed, and women might have to function more in their masculine energy because things have changed in this generation, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Great talk, everybody.
For more DXR media content, follow us on our socials. More content's on the way.